light of day? How did it get to the point where...
How did the song come to see the light of day?
How did the song come to see the light of day, Johnny?
Okay. Well, I think it's very interesting that God has an amazing way of putting us through His refining fire. And that includes seasons of disorientation, just like the Psalms. And last year when the pandemic struck, a couple of the things that happened in my own life were the two jobs or roles that I was serving in. One was a pastor at a church I've been at 20 years, and the other one was for 3 years teaching worship studies at a local Christian university. Within a week, both of those roles were dissolved. And this was within probably 3 or 4 days of my submitting my written thesis for my doctoral work. And so I completed that, and then I had no way to use it. God has this amazing sense of humor, I think, that you know, He's just waiting for us for the penny to drop. He uses these things to test us and to help us focus our trust in Him. During the pandemic and the lockdown, a lot of people were just feeling very morose, very afraid, and a lot of music I was hearing in church services was very lamentful. And, you know, this is probably appropriate in many ways. But our faith in Christ points to a day beyond this day. It points to a day of His return when He comes to make all things new. And really, that is the great day that we await. And we often think we live in this moment here, and we have to live in the moment, but everything about what we believe points us forward to a greater day. So I've been camping on Jesus' words in John 14, when he speaks about being the way, the truth, and the life, and thinking, well, if he's all of those things, and those things are found in a person, not in concepts. He is the way, the truth, He is the truth, He is the life. Then we find our meaning in Him. But He also said things to the disciples like, in this world you will have trouble, but fear not, for I have overcome the world. In the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of any situation in life, it's too easy to put our eyes on the situation and take our eyes off of the promises of God. And those promises in the Scriptures have helped root the hope of the people of God for millennia. And it's been the constant source of our ability to hang on in any circumstance. And so I thought that the message itself was something that was inspiring and joyous. I thought, well, how dare I write a bright and happy song in the midst of such a dark time? But it just came out in that way. It's just the joy that we can find in knowing that our hope is in God and it points to a greater day. I'm sitting on what's called a cajon. It's I think it's either Spanish or South American in origin, and often it's played with people using their hands. So what I've done with this is I've been able to come up with a rubber mallet on this little kick pedal, and if I don't have it smack straight on, it doesn't trigger the snare inside here, and it's got a softer sound. And so it creates rhythm without sounding like a huge drum. And so I started playing around with the acoustic and the cajon. I often lead worship on my own, just, you know, a little bit of rhythm, and it's kind of rootsy and whatnot. And originally the song had that kind of rootsy feel, and it was almost kind of Mumford and Sons or Wren Collective in nature. I then got together with the bass player, who's an old friend of mine and produced one of my previous albums, Corey Noland. He produced the Restore My Soul album, and he's an amazing musician. And Corey and I were looking at the song and thinking, I'd like to do something different with it. And we went, why don't we just take this, tear it apart and start again? I mean, it's a good melody and it's a good lyric, but the packaging could use some refreshing. And I went, okay, let's have at her. And we did, and we came up with the sort of groove pattern of the sort of little pushes in the middle. So you got all the little movement in the chaka-chaka, and we got into the verses and just clear out the deck. Just playing little octaves on the guitar and the bass, and Corey just went after this really growly bass sound with his pick on the song. And it just gave a brand new energy to the song, and we were really, really excited. We thought it really did fit the lyric and the message of hope that was coming out of it. And Matt Urima's drums again, and Suzanne Thiessen again, she put a vocal on it that just ramped up the energy level. She hit a note on, we were mixing the album, and I realized, wait a second, she just hit a note way up there, and it just sounded effortless. So just amazing people to work with on this. Nathan Bosch, played B3 on this, and it was just fantastic. Well, the director, Luc Vandevert, had scouted out some places to shoot this, and we went into a friend's warehouse, and it was actually one he was taking over, and it was being cleared out, but it hadn't been cleared out completely, so it was actually quite grungy and dusty, but it added to the mystique of the video. What was really exciting for me was, you know, when you're doing a video, you're kind of miming the song, you're not really playing it, but we were all actually playing it. I mean, many of the people in the video were the people on the tracks, and so it was exciting to see this song being done by a band for the first time, because we recorded all the instruments separately. There's different ways you can record a song in the studio. You can record all at the same time and then just clean it up afterwards, or you bring one person in at a time and really work on those parts, and Light of Day was done that way. The excitement for me was to actually sit there and play the song in the video and see everybody else playing along and enjoying the song and thinking, I've missed this, you know, like being able to be together and play live music. There's just a chemistry and an energy that comes out of that. And as we started to sing this song and these lyrics for the first time, really together, it was just like all of our hearts were just filling up. And I think it translates really well into the video. We're actually singing out and playing, and we're enjoying the song and the message that it's got in it. One of the things that we need to remember about lament biblically is the concept of lament culturally is woe is me, this is terrible. And we need to be able to say that as believers in Christ, as people of hope. But biblical lament isn't just woe is me, everything's awful, think I'll go eat worms. It's really a case of saying there's something wrong here, but I know who I can take this to. I know who can fix this. So when you read lament, like in the Psalms, a third of the Psalms are lament psalms. They're crying out to God because all is not well. It's God allowing us to say that things aren't well, but as you read through the Psalms, they move from pure lament, and often they turn halfway through and begin to say, but God. But you, God, have said, but you, God, have done, and they turn. And lament that is rooted in the faithful character of God, the sense that He is immutable, never changing. What He has said He will do, and He's shown that. That's when lament can turn to praise. And so many of the lament psalms start in that darkness. They start in that place of soul lockdown. And they get to the place of release, of liberty, of being able to say, God, I will trust you, and I know you're going to bring this through. The lament will turn to praise in the end. So in writing some of the songs for A Light of Day, including the title track, Light of Day, it's, yeah, there is darkness, but God, what have you got in this? And when you see things happen in such short order, a matter of a few short days where your entire life is just turned upside down, and this is so many of our own story, sometimes we need to be looking for the handiwork of God in that. My wife and I have seen that many, many times in our years of ministry and following Christ, is things happen in these short order, and it's like, whoa, whoa, you almost see God walking through the room. And it's, okay, this must be you, because this doesn't make sense. So that now when I sing the joyful song like Light of Day, it's from a place of knowing there is darkness, but it can't overcome the light. And so it's with a total commitment to God's promise that I'm able to stand and sing, you are the way, the truth, and the life. King of all kings and the Lord of light, come, will you lead us in the Spirit's way until our eyes see the light of day. And that might be just in the short time, or it might be until we see you return in glory when the skies open. Christ comes to restore all things and make them new. either way, God will win the ultimate victory.